Hi, I'm Erin with Body of Light Studio. Today we're going to take a look at our shoulders and our hips. These are the areas that I get the most requests for exercises and stretches. A lot of tight hips and shoulders out there. So we'll need 2 yoga blocks, and if you don't have those, you can use things you can find around the house, cans of food, boxes, books, something about the same height as one another, 2 objects at the same height as one another. And a blanket or a pillow may come in handy just to make yourself more comfortable. So before we begin with our exercises, let's go take a look at our skeleton so we can get some insight into our own anatomy. Here we are with our skeleton. Let's take a look at the anatomy of the shoulder girdle and the pelvis. So first, we've got the humerus, the upper arm bone. You can see it's a ball shape at the top of the humerus. This would be the ball of the ball and socket joint. The sternum, the breastbone, the clavicles. And we'll look at this twice, but here's the coracoid process. So this is part of the scapula that comes forward and out between or along the side of the rib cage. So coracoid processes would be right here on me. If we turn the skeleton to the side, you can see the acromion processes. It's another feature of the scapula. And then here is the scapula from the back. So it's got a triangle shape to it. The spine of the scapula, so the acromion, like acropolis, the top of the hill, slopes down the spine of the scapula. And you can see the humerus from the back, and then we'll turn him around again, and you can see the crow's beak, the coracoid process that comes out the front of the scapula. All right, so now let's take a look at the pelvis. We have ASIS, anterior superior iliac spine in the front. Here's mine, right here. Pubic symphysis, where the 2 pelvic halves come together at the front of the body. Vertebral bodies, we'll talk a little bit about those, seated in front of the spine. And taking a look at the back of the pelvis, here's your sitting bones, your ischial tuberosities, and they connect forward and in to the pubis, sacrum, and tailbone. So the 2 pelvic halves connect into the sacrum, this triangular bone at the back of the pelvis. And you can see the spinous processes, kind of like dinosaur spikes, going down the back of the spine. All right, let's go back and get started with our exercise. So you're sitting on a block. The block is underneath your sitting bones on the low or medium setting, wide ways across your pelvis. So your knees are together, your feet are outside of the block. If you look at it from behind, you'll see here. If this is in any way uncomfortable for your knees, your ankles, your feet, you're either sitting higher, maybe on a chair, but it's also nice to have a pillow or a blanket underneath you. And then once you're comfortable, you're gonna grab a hold of your glutes and take them wide back and out to the sides. So you've got your sitting bones firmly grounded on your seat. Lengthen the undersides of your knees forward. So this will lengthen the muscles at the tops of the shins and release the muscles at the tops of the knees. Find the center of your sitting bones. So notice, are you really heavy on one side? You want to even the weight in the right and left sitting bones. And also notice you tend to be forward on your sitting bones, so the front ribs are splaying open and the back is hyperextending. You tend to be back on your sitting bones, where you're kind of collapsing down into your abdomen. Find the middle of your sitting bones, and for just a moment, close your eyes. So many of us imagine ourselves as tall as our eye level. We actually have a lot of space above our eyes, at least a couple of inches. Sense that space, and then sense the space above the top of your head, above your crown chakra. And while you release your thighs down, your femurs, your thigh bones release down, can you grow tall into that crown space above your head? Sense your sitting bones, sense your tailbone. Give a little lift to the pubis, the pubic symphysis, that joint where the 2 pelvic halves come together at the front of the body, and a drop to the tail. So the tail anchors down, the back of the head glides up, You grow a little taller into the crown space above your head. Sense your breath. Inhale into the top of your lung tissue. You actually have lung tissue above your first rib. The lung tissue surrounds the heart like a ball and socket joint. The heart would be the ball and the lungs would be the sockets where they hold the heart. Breathe full into the space around your heart. And the breath will start to widen into your armpits, into the sides of your ribs. Make your exhale longer than your inhale. Rest your jaw. Soften your eyes. And rest your tongue up against the roof of your mouth. Float your eyes open, and you'll interlace your fingers. Just pay attention to which pointer finger is on top. We'll switch it this next round. Flip your palms, stretch your thumbs, and reach your arms up. Take a deep breath, and for a moment, let your scapula glide up the sides of the ribs like you're scrunching your shoulders up towards your ears. Keep your arms really straight as you gently glide the scapula down and the clavicles wide. And then do that again. Inhale, press the palms up. Rotate your triceps, the backs of your arms, in the direction that you're facing. So their triceps are rotating forward. And on your exhale, the clavicles widen, the scapula glide down. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, press the arms up. Keep the arms nice and straight. Maybe you can bring the arms back, but can you keep the lift of the pubis and the lift of the vertebral bodies as you do that? And glide the arms down. And then you'll unflip your palms and interlace your hands behind you. Same pointer finger on top, and take your arms back and up. Now as your arms go back behind you, so your fists are together here, maybe your hands are separated, but as your arms go back, do your shoulders go forward? Keep your shoulders back. As your arms go up, do your ribs press forward? Keep the front of your spine lifted. Lift the chest. A couple deep breaths in here. Feeling the collarbones roll back and wide. And then release your hands down. And we'll do the other side. So now you'll switch which pointer finger is on top. For some people, this one's kind of hard to figure out the first time. It'll be the awkward interlacing. Flip your palms and bring your arms up. Lift the back ribs up off of your pelvis. Stretch the elbows. You want to try to squeeze the arms onto the sides of your head and glide the scapula down. Anchor the tail down in the back. And there's a gentle lift to the pubis up the front body. Take some wide breaths into your armpits, into your waist, and then you'll bring your arms down. Same pointer finger on top. Interlace the hands behind you. Roll the shoulders back. And try to bring the arms up as high behind you as you can, which might not be high at all. Only as high as you can keep your shoulders rolling back. The shoulders peel open. And bring your hands down. All right, let's move on to your hips. You can take away your padding, keep it close by. You might need it in just a moment. And we're gonna start in this 90-90 hip position with your right leg in front. So 90-90 is 90 degrees in both hips and 90 degrees in both knees. It's okay to be a little off balance here, but there can be no pain in the knees or the ankles. No pinching in the hips, but it's okay if your hips feel just a little bit tight. They're gonna get a deep stretch here. If you do feel pinching in the hips, you can sit on one of your blocks, or pinching in the knees, you can sit on one of your blocks to give yourself a little bit more height. The pillow would also be nice underneath that right hip. From here, it's okay if you need to prop yourself up too. You're gonna start to hinge forward. Hands can be on the ground, or for some added difficulty, you'll reach your arms wide out to the sides of the room. So your knees and hips are bent at 90. Ankles are soft. The front of the spine is lifting, especially the lumbar spine. As you hinge forward, notice is your head going forward more than your heart. You want to lengthen your tail back and the crown of your head straight up and out of your tail. Keep your low back long. You can think about your tail tipping down to the ground and the pubis lifting up so you're not compressing in your lumbar spine, your low back spine. We'll be here for about 30 more seconds. Every time you inhale, can you lengthen the spine even more? Every time you exhale, maybe you can hinge a little farther forward. Sense your breath moving all the way down into your bottom ribs, your floating ribs at the waist. They're widening out to the sides of the room. Maybe go a little bit farther forward. Last inhale here. And exhale, maybe go a little bit farther, and then you'll inhale to sit up, and we'll swing your legs around. We'll do the other side. So now you've got your left knee forward, your right knee back. Check in with your knees and your hips. If there's any pain, you'll put some padding underneath your left hip. Femurs going, or left femur going straight forward out of the hip socket, knee bent at 90 degrees, and then right femur going straight out to the side, knee bent at 90. Again, you might need to find your little kickstand here with your left arm. Hands will start to come forward, or you'll reach your arms wide out to the sides of the room. And you hinge, and you're not collapsing the heart down, you're lifting the sternum up, you're not lifting your tail and compressing your lumbar spine, you're lengthening your tail down, and you're reaching the crown of your head up into that crown space above you. Getting really tall through the spine, wide through the shoulders as you start to hinge forward. And then we'll be here for a little bit longer. Let's talk about your shoulder girdle. Let's keep those clavicles widening out to the acromion processes. The sides of the scapula, reach out through your middle fingers. The acromion processes go down and in the spines of the scapula as the sides of the scapula reach out. Lengthen the sternum. Hinge a little bit farther forward. Last 5 seconds here. How far can you go? Keeping the length of the spine, the width of the shoulder girdle. Big inhale. Exhale, go as far as you can go. And then you'll inhale to come up and swing your legs around so that both feet are stepping down onto the ground in front of you. Lean back onto your hands. Ideally, your hands would be pointed, your fingers would be pointing straight forward towards your feet with your wrist creases parallel. If you're on a yoga mat, they would be parallel to the edge of your mat, the short edge of your mat. Roll your shoulder. It's okay to have your fingers pointing out. We don't want them pointing back. So this is uncomfortable on your wrists. Angle your fingers outward until it becomes more comfortable. So you'll roll your shoulders, peel your shoulders open, press your feet down and lift your pelvis up. And then here we'll talk about your pelvic outlet. So that's the space between your pubis, your tail, and your two sitting bones. You want to press the heels down, lift your pelvis up. But are you closing your pelvic outlet? We want to keep it wide open. So instead of squeezing the sitting bones closed, you're going to imagine that you're holding a melon between your knees so that the sitting bones can open. You're free around the tail. Lift your chest out of your armpits and inhale to sit down. We'll do that 2 more times. If it's hard for you to keep your sitting bones open, if you really feel yourself squeezing the sitting bones and narrowing the tail, then go ahead and put one of your blocks between your knees. You're going to take an inhale. Exhale, feet press down, hands root down, lift your pelvis up. If you have this block between your knees, you're not crushing it. It's just there to give you a little more connection in from the bottom part of the femur, the thigh bone, so that the tops of the femurs can open wide. Right at the pelvic outlet. Center of the buttocks lifts up. Lift your heart, take an inhale, and then exhale to sit down. Right away, we'll do that 1 more time. Inhale, and exhale, pelvis lifts. This is your last one. Inner thighs are rolling down. Balls of the feet widening, toes spreading and lengthening. Lift the chest like you're shooting fire out of your armpits. Inhale. And exhale to lower. All right, let's open the legs wide for Uttanasana Konasana. So you're in this wide straddle position. You want to be right in the middle of your sitting bones again. So if you're rocking back and you're unable to keep your spine lifted, you can sit on your blanket or your pillow. Otherwise, legs as wide as they can go with the center of the knee and the second and third toe pointing straight up to the ceiling. I like to have blocks for this one under my hands. You might not need them, but same thing we just did in that 90-90 position. You'll hinge forward, rocking, allowing the pubis to glide down. You're rocking forward on your sitting bones as far as you can go without rounding the shoulders and rounding the spine. Press the center of the thighs down into the ground. Ankles are equally long on all sides. So you're not pointing the toes and shortening the backs of the ankles, and you're not flexing the feet and shortening the fronts of the ankles. The ankles are actually pretty soft, but the heels are pressing down. The center of the thighs are pressing down. You're trying to keep your legs flat against the ground so there's no space between your legs and the ground. Maybe go a little bit farther forward. Pressing the legs down, check in with your knees. Are they still pointing up to the ceiling? Second and third toes pointing up to the ceiling. A lot of times as we do this, we'll start to roll the legs in. You want to keep the legs grounded. Maybe you can go a little bit farther. Take about 3 more breaths here. The tail is going down. The vertebral bodies of the lumbar spine are lifting up. You're growing up and out through the crown of your head. And then walk your hands back, grab a hold of your knees, and use your arms to swing your feet together. And let's lie down on our bellies and do a little work for our glutes. So, as long as you're comfortable here on your belly, you can stack your hands, make a pillow for your head with your hands, and rest your head on your hands. If this does not feel comfortable on your low back, you could lie down on your pillow, so your torso would be on your pillow, and then your head would be on your block. Depending on the height of the pillow, you want to adjust the height of your head. But as long as you're comfortable here, you can lie flat down on your belly. And you're going to bend. Let's do your right leg first. So you're going to press your pubic bone down into the ground, lift the abdomen, bend your right knee, and lift your right leg up as if you could stamp your heel into the ceiling. Now, as you do this, did you let your tail flick up? You want to press the pubis down, grow your tail down towards your left leg as you lift your right leg as high as you can go. Check in with your shoulders, clavicles widening out to the acromion processes, sternum lengthening, crown of the head lengthening. Hold it up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stretch your right leg long, lift it higher. I have a little help here from my table, and then you'll bring your right leg down. All right, we'll do the other side. Bend your left knee, flex the ankle. It's like you're trying to kick the ceiling with your heel. Pubis down, abs in, press the left leg up. You're trying to lift that left femur as high as you can go off of the ground. Wide shoulders, shoulder blades go down the back as they widen. Crown of the head, sternum lengthening away from your tail as your tail lengthens down towards your right foot. Taking the sides of the navel in, lift the heel a little higher for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then lengthen the left leg, lift it even higher, reach it back and down to the ground. We'll do that one more time each side. Inhale. Exhale, pubis presses down into the ground, shoulders soft. Bend your right knee and lift the right heel up like you're stamping your heel into the ceiling. Breath is wide into the sides of the rib cage. Throat, jaw soft, eyes released. Maybe you can lift your right leg a little higher for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift it as high as you can go. Reach the leg long, press the pubis down, lengthen your tail, and then you'll lower your right foot down to the ground. Last time, left side, bend the knee, lengthen your tail,
Engage your core and lift that left leg up. Maybe you can go a little higher this time, keeping the shoulders soft, the head heavy into your hands. You're really engaging that glute, lifting the knee as high as you can up to the ceiling. Maybe you can lift just a little bit higher. Hold it up for 4, 3, 2, 1. Lengthen the leg, lengthen your tail, lift the abdomens into the spine, and lower down. Let your toes turn in, the heels widen. Switch which hand is on top if your hands are stacked for your head. And take a couple nice wide breaths, feeling your inhale move down into the ground, your back widening as you breathe in. Head fully releasing down into your hands. And you can release your head down to the ground, hands under your shoulders, press up onto your hands and your knees. And last thing we'll do here, you'll lie down on your back, hands by your sides. You can have your arms up at shoulder height or over your head like cactus arms if that feels comfortable. Scooch back so you can see my feet. All right, you're gonna take your feet about as wide as your outer hips and then just let the knees flop over to one side. You can turn your head the other way, a gentle twist in the spine. Take a nice deep breath into the waist. And then exhale, knees swing through center and over to the other side. Your head will turn opposite your knees. Check in with your body. Notice if there's anywhere that you're holding tension that you can release, whether it's in your forehead, your scalp, your brow, your cheeks, the tongue. Allow the abdomen to soften. And bring your head to center. Swing your knees back to center. And you can roll over to your side and press yourself up to sit. I hope that your hips and shoulders feel a little bit more open, a little bit more engaged. And thank you for joining me today. See you soon.